Pakistan will release a captured Indian pilot as a gesture for peace. That was the message from the country's Prime Minister a day after the pilot's plane was shot down over Kashmir. Prime Minister Imran Khan revealed the decision in Parliament as he called for calm between the nuclear-armed neighbours. For more, I'm joined by Ravi Agrawal. He's managing editor at Foreign Policy magazine and the author of India Connected. Ravi, fantastic to have you on the show. A lot at stake here for both sides. Newly elected or freshly elected Imran Khan, of course, under pressure to stand up to India too. And, of course, then Narendra Modi facing elections in a couple of months' time. Tough for both here.
That's right. The stakes are very high for both sides, as they would be normally, but as you point out, even more higher this time, given that elections are around the corner for India especially. And so Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister, needs to appear to look tough, and that may explain some of his response in this past week in terms of scrambling jets to go across the border, which hasn't been done since 1971, a very serious incursion into Pakistani territory. And of course, Pakistan tried to retaliate. So the escalations that we're seeing are all quite serious, but it seems like we're now reaching the stage where both sides have gotten something out of this crisis.
Right.
They've been able to appear to be strong and tough in front of their people, and with media on both sides that are quite jingoistic and have been clamoring for muscular responses from their leaders.
You know, there can be nothing better than a foreign aggressor when you're heading into an election and you see a strong Prime Minister responding as they head into that election. Is that ultimately what this will achieve? Will it rally Narendra Modi's supporters as we head into that election?
One would imagine so. I mean, it's very clear that when there is a crisis the likes of this, it unites Indians in a way that, you know, it should, in the sense that the opposition parties, as well as, you know, the current leadership, they all want to try at least to speak in one voice, even though that may not have completely gone to script. But much as though that will unite India, we're still several weeks away from an election, and there are many things at stake in India's election. Narendra Modi has had 5 years now to really show India what he's achieved, and it seems that in the last couple of years that his support has waned a little bit. He is still by far and away India's most popular politician, but if anyone was thinking that this would be a runaway victory for him, as some may have predicted 2 or 3 years ago, that's no longer the case. And so we are now approaching an election with very high stakes for India's future, and Narendra Modi realizes what's at stake for him.
You know, it's interesting. I mean, I looked at the stock market over the time that he's been leader, and it's up some 40%. He came in on such hopes of reform and advancement for the economy here, and growth appears to be slowing, at least in the latest quarter, clearly slower from when he came into power. Employment also not working for him at this moment too. In fact, that's going in the wrong direction. Ravi, how important is the economy, jobs going to be in fighting this election?
I think it's really important, and I think you framed it exactly right, Julia, because the GDP numbers that are out today, where India's growth has slowed from highs of about 8% 18 months ago to the current 6.6% growth in the last quarter, and a downward revision to about 7% for the year 2019. Those are numbers that are important. They are worrying. India still is the fastest growing major economy in the world, but the slowdown is worrying. That said, regular Indians are not really going to be talking about this number. It's not a number that people at chai stalls across the country are going to be citing each other. What they are going to talk about is how they feel. And on that front, it is very clear that India has not created enough jobs, that many of the promises that Narendra Modi made coming to power have not been fulfilled. Chief among them was the giant infrastructure projects that he promised and job creation. About 12 to 15 million young Indians enter the workforce every year. They are not getting the jobs they need.
Can he do something to change that if he wins this election, Ravi, realistically?
Well, it's a difficult balance for India because on the one hand, they have many headwinds from around the world. You know, growth has been slowing globally, which impacts foreign direct investment into India. It impacts trade in all sorts of ways. But there's also the fact that, in part, on India's part, to try and boost chances for election, the Indian government, in its last budget, tried to hand direct cash transfers to farmers. It has tried to increase the minimum income required to qualify to pay income taxes, thereby reducing revenues for the state. And that is at odds with what the state really needs to do, which is to raise revenue so that it can increase spending on infrastructure. So it's a tough balance, and it's hard to say if Modi can succeed on that front.